Yeah, watch it. Got the words on the track. Dead on the boards. Church. Bishop Lamar. Wow. Yeah, the statistics shows my ballistic flows generate big cake, not big candles. That spaghetti them O's. I'm so ready, how them pack my clothes. I'm so heavy with no D. How them boys, I rock them gators more than gun beat boys. I'm the real raw deal, y'all just still decoys. Like
So, and it transformed from fiction into realism, even though it is a work of fiction.
For that green like for Rick, no, not from New Orleans, but can you see me, homie? In mic check, check 1, 2. If it ain't a check a text, that's all I'm gon' do. Mic check, check 1, 2. If you ain't talking dollars, I can't understand you. Mic check, check 1, 2. If it ain't a check a text, that's all I'm gon' do. Mic check. Check 1, 2. Yeah. If you ain't talking dollars, I can't understand you. Yeah. Look around, left, right, up and down.
So in the time before everything starts, and the second book kind of gets into the very beginning of it, and then the third book kind of ends up the first phase of what happened.
My target audience when I wrote it in my head was basically teenage girls that had read Twilight and were sorry that it was over.
From this reason. And they are animals being arsenic.
But you know, you're the bus driver, right. You know, yeah, there he is, you know. I was like, that's cool. It's like we're made for it.
Mic check, check 1, 2. If you ain't talking dollars, I can't understand you. Mic check, check 1, 2. If it ain't a check a text, that's all I'm gon' do. Mic check, check 1, 2. If you ain't talking dollars, I can't.
Thank you. Welcome to another great show of APN TV Media. We have a lot in store for you today. As a matter of fact, she's a good friend of mine. You know, we've been trying to connect back and forth for her to come onto the show because she's very, very busy. You know, she has a book titled What If There's Nothing Wrong? You know what? I actually remember that title. What if there's nothing wrong? You come to think about it, we always think about, you know, there's always something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. But this time, she's going to share us about her book. And the book's basically about energy. So, you know what? Her name, first of all, her name is Dr. Alison J. K. Ph.D. Dr. Alison J. K. I know I put Ph.D. It just sounds kind of crazy, right? That was my fault. Nevertheless, we're going to have fun today. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And we'll have our political analyst with us, Bob Beatles. He's going to get up here with me because even though he's a political analyst, we're going to get some positive energy flow today. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Let's get this party started, and we'll be right back after this.
So nice to me. I'm a whiz kid, Doogie Howser. Just like the game, snatch your dame, I'm Bowser. Yeah, watch it. Got the words on the track. Dead on the boards. Church. Bishop Lamar. Wow. Yeah.
With a curvy shape.
that I've never felt. What's not to love about you? Every day I find more reasons to. Cause you're in a beauty that's always shining through. What's not to love about you? I love how you don't walk around with the all about me attitude.
Welcome back. Yes, welcome back. Matter of fact, Bob, say hello to everybody. And we have with us Dr. Allison. Dr. Allison, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Yes, doing fine. You know, it's interesting. I like the title you have in your book. What if there's nothing wrong? And you know what? For about over a week and a half or so, I was stuck with that. It's like an analogy of its own. What if there's nothing wrong? And I said, How about that? What if there's nothing wrong? Which you will explain to us about your title itself, as a matter of fact. And I believe this has to do with energy medicine and stuff like that. So, you know what? I want to open the door about the title, if that's okay?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, Steve.
Yes. How did you come up with this title? What if there's nothing wrong?
Well, I've been meditating for 23 years, and I've been teaching it for 22, and I lived in Asia. I moved there to live there for 10 years to study subtle energy and meditation and traditional Taoist practices. I learned to teach Qigong, and then I have been teaching Qigong, and I went to India and got certified in yoga and meditation, Ashtanga yoga in meditation teaching. And so I was based in Taiwan amongst the traditional Chinese. I was teaching and an administrator at an international school there. And so I in all of my spare time, went about studying everything I just mentioned and much more. And so there's this way the mind, you know how people say, I've been back in the States now for 5 years, and I have noticed one time when I started to have "you should" come out of my mouth, I noticed it because it's so unlike me, but I was picking up on the lingo of people around me. And you know how a lot of people say, yeah, but the thing is, or yeah, but the problem is, or do you know what I mean? How people talk like that?
Yes.
So this is before me really hearing people talking like that. So the title has had a lot of reverberating effects, and I love it. But the title comes from my awareness, which I write about in What If There's Nothing Wrong, that when you sit back and you observe the mind and cultivate the capital O observer, or the presence, the awake presence behind the thinking mind, first off, the question to ask is, okay, so if I can do that, if there's been this thing called meditation practice for centuries, and we're able to observe our thinking mind, our thoughts, then who am I? I mean, who is this observing presence? And the second thing is you start to really gain a grasp of how gripping the mind gets, how it gets attached to a thought or a train of thought, and especially those ones that give the body like an emotional reaction. So then you might have the hormonal biochemical release of stress. And so just gradually over time, peeling back the importance of my thoughts and being reactive from my thoughts, and just really having that detachment from my thinking mind, it's let me see gradually, I mean, as bringing in now the energy medicine practitioner too for over 20 years, and understanding the chakra column and understanding subconscious and unconscious thoughts and energy that is underneath the surface of our conscious mind that has the thoughts that we observe in meditation, understanding that all of that can be peeled back so we can be this pure emanation of the life force that we are. Yeah, everything is based on beliefs, whether they're conscious and we hear our mind thinking them, or they're subconscious or unconscious. So you can peel back anything to the point of, what if there's nothing wrong? What if your mind is just coming up with that because whenever you're in a situation where you're expected to perform and succeed, you seem to sabotage that, and you instead don't believe that you're worthy of success, so you'll mess it up because you have an unconscious or subconscious belief that I'm not worthy of having what I want, or I'm not worthy of success, or people from my family don't have success, or people like me don't have that level of success. So everything that we do and choose is based on beliefs, whether we're aware of it or not. So the work I do peels back to the core beliefs so that I undo them with the energy medicine. So you get to the point of understanding that we're an awakened presence full of that is life force in this beautiful body. And here we are on planet Earth choosing and creating our lives. So the way, Stephen, I usually sign that What If There's Nothing Wrong book when I'm doing book signings and in person is, yes, indeed, what if there's nothing wrong? What if the mind weren't busy finding something wrong? What would we then create?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. There's the mind is trying to find something wrong. Huh. You know,
well,
I don't think none of us even
that.
think about that. We're trying to search for, or we didn't even realize that we're trying to search for something that's wrong.
It's wired to do that. So the mind is, we call it in the meditation world, the ego/mind. And so that's the mind that's attached to our identity, who you are, what style of dress, what you do for your career, how people, he's an extrovert or she's an introvert, all of those labels. The mind is given to us. Now, my background is psychology, and I taught AP psychology in the international school system. My first major in college was psychology. I saw how incomplete it was to really describe the human experience and why people do what they do. I start too focused on just the brain and the hardwiring and industrial management and how you use psychology in the management. I mean, it just was too short-sighted for me. So I left the major after 3 semesters and then started asking for the rest of my life until this moment here, and I'm continuing to ask, okay, so what completes the mind, body, spirit, human? How do we understand why a person does what they do? And how do we have the best life ever by understanding that is the bottom line. So the ego, so my background is very technical to a degree, understanding the mind and its functions. And then you bring in all of my practice and experiences with meditation and Qigong and yoga and energy medicine and the studies there for 20 plus years. So the ego mind, Stephen, it's given to us to produce labels, to produce judgments, evaluations, strategies, calculations. So it helps our spirit or soul or being, however you want to refer to it, however it works for you in your world, this part of us, that's the eternal part of us, launched into this physical body. We get given this ego mind that helps us be able to make sense out of all of the sensory data coming at our 5 physical senses. So we don't get overwhelmed because our physical senses have thresholds on them. So we can only see so much of what's actually there to be seen. Otherwise, we couldn't handle all that's actually happening. So the ego mind is a tool given to us to be able to construe and make sense out of and navigate the physical 3-dimensional world. So its job is to produce labels. Its job is to keep us safe. Its job is to protect us and look for danger in the environment. So the fight or flight mechanism, that either fight this big tiger or run from this big elephant wiring, that old school reptilian wiring, because it sits in the reptilian part of the brain. That's all part of what we're talking about. It's geared to seek out protection. And so are you a danger to me? Are you a threat to me? Let me label. Let me go into my mind's categorizing and produce a label to understand what you are and understand if you're a threat or not. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It is basically wired to help us identify what is wrong. And that's why the practice, the second book of mine that's getting published in the next 3 months, I'm really excited about because it takes off from that, okay, so if our mind weren't busy finding something wrong, what would we then create? And this is what the second book now is answering or speaking to, not answering, but speaking to. So what can we create? And it's wild because when I'm working at public expos and I'm doing energy medicine, and it's people who aren't my regular clients, much of the time, I was just talking about this yesterday with one of my clients, because the occipital lobe, the back of the brain, the base of the skull, that's where that reptilian brain sits. That's where the oldest wiring, like the fight or flight adrenal cortex mechanism, starts, and it goes down to our adrenals, that fight or flight. So it's old school wiring. And when I've been doing these expos with the general public, and they sign up and pay for a shortened energy medicine session, a lot of the time the back of the brain, that old brain, the old school wiring, is asking for feeding. It seems to me that corresponds with what we're hearing about this being humanity's biggest leap in evolution, that we're coming out of that more mind dominant, competition based, and into the more heart dominant, collaboration based life. It's considered humanity's spiritual awakening. And that's a big label, and a lot of people just get turned off from that label depending on their beliefs. So what if there is nothing wrong and you just opened up to, okay, this is a new time? Clearly, it requires different tools living successfully and joyfully on our planet right now than it did even 10 years ago. And that's because there's this greater backdrop of the biggest leap in humanity's evolution happening right now. And that includes the brain, the ego mind, and its wiring, it seems like, to be shifted in preparing us to be more heart-centered and less unaware and checked out and unconscious, that we could actually work with this and make this serviceable instead of us being at the whim of our thoughts and reactions. So we become more the conscious creators of our lives.
Wow, that's heavy. That's heavy, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
It's meant to be light, not heavy.
Thank you. Yes. It's the energy medicine is called. Let me see if I can get this right. It's vibrational upgrade.
Yeah, the vibrational upgrade system.
So we're getting a vibrational upgrade.
Yeah. So everybody gets a vibrational upgrade. You're getting one right now by talking to me. The words I'm using and the concepts I'm talking about are charged with a consciousness that is giving you new understandings and reshuffling your unconsciousness. And it's bringing some stuff to the surface for you. So you're going to have new awarenesses over the next couple of days. And my vibration naturally is clearing anybody who's listening to this, and it's raising your vibration. It's called entrainment. When there's a higher vibration, I cultivate my vibration every day. The majority of the day is spent doing that with my own personal practice, and then in energy medicine sessions with clients, and then group healings or teaching yoga and meditation at night. So when there's a higher vibration, it's like if there's somebody who's happy, yes, and they stay vibrating and happy, and somebody comes in depressed. If you've learned the skills and tools to keep your vibration cultivated and high, you'll help raise up the depressed person. If you haven't learned the skills and tools, you'll get lowered. So that's entrainment.
Is that is that part of the chakras, or am I saying that right? Chakras?
Yeah, you're saying chakras right, yeah.
Is that part of it?
The chakras?
Or just tell us, explain to us about chakras.
Okay, so I just want to give you a heads up. When we that's the root chakra, and that's the second chakra. When I teach about the chakras, it can be a basic course that's a month long, 1 night a week for 3 hours a night, and then another month, 1 night a week, 3 hours that night each week for the advanced level. This is a huge science. It's not something that's able to be not treated lightly, but it's just a lot of information because it's a science. It's a roadmap to understand the mind, the body, and the spirit all intersect at a chakra. And a chakra, that means wheel in Sanskrit. So it's a roadmap, Stephen, an audience. These are the 7 main ones. There's one at the crown. There's one at the third eye in between the eyebrows. There's one at the throat. There's one at the heart. There's one at the solar plexus, the upper abdomen, beginning of the digestive tract. There's one at the lower abdomen, or the dantian as it's known in Qigong, and then there's one at the tailbone, at the root. So the red one corresponds to the root, and that's the second chakra, that's at the lower belly. And if you grew up and you came running home from school and you had a great project you were really excited about, and you showed your parents and your brothers and sisters, and nobody really, or aunties, whoever was there, and nobody really gave you the reaction that you were expecting, like the excitement wasn't met, then that gets wired in as we're in the formational years from 0 to 8 with our neurological wiring at the subconscious level. If it happens the second time, you come home with a different project and you're looking for people to say, hey, great job, son, or yeah, and take interest in your passion or your talent or interest, and nobody's really responding, then that's going to train you with that orange second chakra symbol, because every chakra has a right to it, and the second one is the right to feel. You have the right to feel the way you feel. So you're going to have wired in the conclusion of, wow, I must not supposed to be meant, I shouldn't feel this way. It doesn't get returned. Maybe I shouldn't be excited. So you see that close down? You see that contraction in my body language?
And that's what we consider more like a project of certain avenues, like to say the way we feel or what we're looking for?
Well, this is just an example. I'm trying to concretize the chakra system into real life. So that's just an example for the second chakra. The first chakra is, do you feel stable in your environment? Were you born into an environment where they were ready to parent you? They weren't nervous too much. I mean, there's an average level of nervousness as a parent for sure, but I mean, we are little sponges. We are not ending at the end of our fingers where these energy fields, and so we pick up on those around us, especially as a child coming out of a womb, and you're sensing everything in the environment. Energy is our first language, not English or Spanish or French, and so then as the mind is getting wired, in come the subconscious and unconscious conclusions that as an adult, and even teens, I work with teens, we're peeling back those conclusions. And so the conclusions, depending on what area the chakra works with in life, like the root works with stability and groundedness, the second works with your sensuality and feelings world. The third one works with power and inner child and joy and manifesting. And so if you tend to sabotage yourself with creating out in the world what you want, and you pull back or you procrastinate or you sabotage in one way or another, or you don't go for what you want, that very much involves the third chakra. The fourth one is, do you close down and are you full of blame and resentment and frustration and anger and push people away, or do you feel connected with people in forgiveness and compassion and understanding? So the chakras either remain open and they can turn that vital life force energy in the part of the physical body it's responsible for, or they can be shut down and no vital life force energy goes into the part of the body that the chakra is responsible for. And so then comes the possibility for tightness in the musculature, and because there's no fresh vital life force energy flowing in that area, and the tightness can then have chronic pain come in, or even some kind of imbalance in the body.
Pain. Yes, I was about to ask you that. How does it work with physical pain?
That's how, yeah. So we can undo the beliefs, Stephen, and open up the chakra. And as the chakra begins to turn, because it's open now, because the beliefs aren't cramping it or contracting it. So as I vibrationally upgrade you, so to speak, using the terminology from my system that I created, I'm clearing out the subconscious and unconscious beliefs that got locked into that chakra. So this one's about communication, but it's also about choice and feeling free to choose what you really want instead of restricted and closed down and having to just live life and do it as your parents did it, as everybody around you is doing it. But you can actually choose to step out of that job that's boring to you and create a business based on what you love. For example, that's all related to the throat and the this is the fifth chakra. So if I clear out the beliefs that keep me feeling limited here, and then the chakra is able to turn the vital life force energy, then that tight neck will loosen up and the upper shoulders will drop down.
Yeah, watch it. Got the words on the track. Dead on the boards. Church. Bishop Lamont. Wow. Yeah.
really reliable roadmap. And a lot of people might see chakras as something new agey or fluffy or, ooh, this is something cool. And what are the colors? But it is an absolute science as the roadmap to understand where the unconscious and subconscious thoughts of the mind intersect with the body and the spirit, so it's the entire spectrum of the human experience. That's all that we can undo parts that have been hampered in developmental years and even past lives by understanding which chakra they relate to and working on that chakra. It's a lot more than that, but this is the basics.
I have read that aging is aggravated by the chakras vibrating at different rates, and that there are exercises that can cause them to start vibrating again at the same rate. Would you say that's true or not?
Yeah. It's a little more than that, but yeah. Yes, it is true. Is this Bob?
Yes.
Hi, Bob. That's a great question, because very much what I was studying in Asia is the longevity formulas, so to speak, but since the ancient time. And so, for example, part of the reason why you feel good when you leave a yoga class is because each posture, and we don't normally know this in America, each posture is designed to open certain chakras. So you've opened the chakra, and now more chi or vital life force can flow in that area, so you have more life.
Right, and there's a book that was written years ago called The Ancient Secret of the Fountain of Youth, and it listed 5 exercises that were good for opening, for getting all the chakras vibrating at the same rate. The first one being spinning clockwise like a whirling dervish. Does that tie in with what you do?
No, I don't know about the spinning one. I'm sure that helps.
Vibrating at the same rate.
Well, when you say vibrating at the same rate, I don't use vibrating in the way you're using it, and we're all using new language with what is really meant by vibrations and frequencies and open and life force. So we're just going to marry what I mean and what you mean. So the vibrating, I would say, as you do more practices. So spinning probably works, to answer your question, on the second chakra and the third chakra. If the arms are wide out, not down to the side, then I would say that's probably joy, which is part of the third and fourth chakra, and the second one, which is sensual, movement in the body, also like the physical, sensual, tactile of life. And so that would include the second chakra. So spinning would help probably the second, the third, and the fourth chakra. But I know it from... And I don't mean to say but, because any practices that have you engaging in more life-giving, if you just observe how you feel after you do something and you have more juice, then yes. And it's not hurting anybody else. Yeah. So, but there's an element, what you're asking, Bob, is a very typical question. And thank you again for asking this one too. People ask this, how can I keep my chakras attuned on a daily basis? And I'm developing another app for that. You can do certain exercises with tones. You can visualize, go through the chakra column and visualize them opened. But there are foundational, and this is the core of what I do, energy patterns based on those unconscious and subconscious beliefs, where most people have 2 or 3 chakras off from something, which in India, in the yogic tradition, is called samskaras, where there are core things that show up in our life over and over again, no matter what job it is, who we're in relationship with, or where we're living. And so those correspond to 2 or 3 of the major chakras, and getting those cleared out really then has the whole system able to flow the life force energy in both directions and throughout all the chakras. So now your whole vibration of your whole system is much higher, as opposed to like each individual one being a vibration in and of itself. When I think of the individual ones, I think of them as turning. But when I think of the overall, I think of vibration as the overall vibration of the entire system, mind, body, spirit, being, emanating out, because these are all opened and flowing, able to flow more life force energy, which means more light. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me. And what you said, I had 2 relatives who were hypochondriacs who both died young, and I believe though their beliefs, affected their chakras as you would probably expect them to, and that probably caused them to die young.
Yeah, but it's not like you need. But in our country, it's really interesting. People get scared if they're thinking the wrong thing. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not like you have one thought. It's beliefs. You just use the word belief. So if it's a belief you have that is held on, you're attached to it. You hold it in place. Then the work I do clears those. And a good way to measure if you have hidden beliefs at the unconscious and subconscious level, which we all do, that you could clear out and make your life easier, is if you say you want A and you find yourself not getting A. So your behavior behind your choices is not leading you to A. There's some blockage. So with these people dying young with the hypochondria, I had a radio show for 2 years and 3 months when I came back to the States, and I interviewed Bruce Lipton, who was the very first epigeneticist working on stem cell research. And he revolutionized biology by saying we're not programmed by our genes. Genetics work in the way that they have potential to turn on that aspect of dying young, so to speak, in your example, Bob, or they have the potential to not turn on ever that genetic condition, depending on the environment we provide for our genes, meaning our beliefs, thoughts, emotions, food, level of toxicity, level of stress, the daily environment we cultivate to support our system. Is it keeping that genetic potential off, or does it turn it on? So even if something is genetic, what's understood now in cutting edge science and new thought is that it doesn't matter. What we create for the daily environment energetically or vibrationally for our cells and our genes is what creates our longevity or not, or disease freeness or not. Cool.
Yeah, you guess you answered both of them between physical pain and longevity, because that was my next question about longevity. But you brought up something that was very interesting, and about genetics. And so does this combine the way it works through energy? Or am I saying that right?
So I think, yeah. I think you're understanding it right, yeah. Let me say it back, Stephen. What
Yes.
you're saying is we can control
Yes.
longevity and, did you use the word illness?
No, energy.
Okay,
Longevity,
so we control only longevity.
longevity
is what you said, through our
the short
energy.
lifespan is another part of illness?
Yeah. So
Okay.
So if a chakra is turning, the vital life force energy, that area doesn't get tight, and it has the vital life force.
Yes.
So it also stays alive, energized, healthy, happy. So when I work with a person's system and I'm tuning in and there might be chronic tightness in the shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
I will be around that area. And when I get over to that area, the contrast is these are happy kindergartners popping out of their seats, and this is like a sullen teenager. So yeah, you have an understanding of it. And so what makes up the energy is our thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, and food, nutrition, quality of air. I'm getting into Taoist stuff now, but Taoist meaning the ancient Chinese culture where Qigong and acupuncture comes from, but the quality of air, how much oxygenation we have, the quality of our nutrition that creates, both of these create our qi, which is our daily life force supply. I'm getting a little bit too complex for a basic interview, but it's not just thoughts, feelings, emotions. It's also the quality of food intake and the quality of air intake, the quality of sleep, and the levels of stress that all contribute to creating a harmonious environment. And I don't want you all to think that you must be perfect all the time in order to create a harmonious environment in order to not die or not get ill, because that's where people tend to go in their minds when they don't work with their minds. It's just like, what if there's something wrong? Instead of, what if there's nothing wrong? What if all of this is within our creation and we're in fact creating all of it through our choices moment to moment with even what we choose to believe that our mind is throwing out there, and what we choose to just say, okay, you're a funny thought, no thanks. Because you wouldn't let that kind of person come to a party of yours at your house. Why would you entertain that thought?
So that's what I was thinking about there, between that negative and positive energy. The other thing is, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was with the audience, your viewers and readers. One of the things is that actually it's not too technical, because you seem to have a way to explain the difference between a typical way. In other words, a typical way is presented about the chakra.
Thank you. That said a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was a classroom teacher for 12 years and an administrator, so I was also one of the people who trained the incoming expats to help translate the cultural differences. So I tend to act as a translator, so to speak, and it does. Thanks for saying that, Stephen. Yeah, I can take chunks of scientific or complex information and simplify it, because I like happiness. I like how it feels, and I like when I'm around happy people. And so the more free you are, the happier you are. So if I can get this information to you, that's going to help free you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll tell you, everybody, we'll be right back after this.
Yeah, watch it. Got the words on the track. That on the boards. Church. Bishop Lamont. Wow. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome back. As a matter of fact, Dr. Alison, she has a website, and her website is, I believe, it's www.alisonijk.com. So it's Alison, ALISONIJKAY.com. As a matter of fact, if you look down below the screen, it'll be written there for you. I did place that right, didn't I, Dr. Alison?
I'm sorry, Stephen. It's just ALISON and then no I. Then it goes right into the J and then KAY. So Alison J K, and the Allison's with one L, and it's just the letter J, and then it's KAY.
Okay, yeah, I see they corrected on the screen. They got ALISONJKAY.com.
Yeah, and I have a free call every the last Thursday of every month, except this month, because it's New Year's. And then I have a whole range of different ways you can enter into working with me. A lot of people will enter in onto the weekly Tuesday night group healing call, where all I'm doing is an hour full of clearing of subconscious blocks and beliefs, especially the kind that will block us up. So there's all different levels you can come in, and there's free stuff.
Oh, okay.
To get help, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Bob?
That's great information. I knew a little bit about what you were talking about, but not as, I never went as nearly as in-depth as you have.
Actually, Bob shocked me. I was like, oh my gosh, he knows about it too. That's all right. Now
I was excited. I was excited to hear you, Bob.
But the exercise, come to think about it, what you were sharing Isn't that more mental than physical? Even though you mentioned about doing yoga, is it more mental?
No, because the chakras are an intersection of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So if I
Okay.
have a certain unconscious or subconscious belief,
Yes.
correlates to one of the 7 main chakras, which is in my physical body at some location. So it's going to have that effect of closing down the chakra, and so that area is going to have less energy or less life force flowing
No,
through
I
it.
mean exercise. Is it combined with exercise, or it's more?
Yeah, it is, Stephen, because that's a great question. A really, really advanced question. I love how you're taking in this information. You're good and you're quick. I'm a personal trainer too. And so one of the things that I suggest to my people, especially my students who get the attunements through my energy medicine, when they start really being connected to their antenna gets awakened even more at the crown chakra and pulls the life force down into their system. One of the things that they need to do is then move their legs, like through a bicycle or walking or running, because it helps to continue to bring that life force down in their system so their head doesn't get overloaded or they get spinny or they get dizzy. And that's happening to a lot of people now. One of the signs of awakening, I mean, you can YouTube a video that says 10 common symptoms of awakening. Dizziness or tinnitus, which are all 6 chakra aspects. It's when you have too much energy clogged up here because this throat chakra is clogged and you're just too cerebral and mental and not physical enough. So there's a lot of physical patterns that are the result of the mental, subconscious, and unconscious beliefs. And the unconsciousness runs throughout our entire body. Our thoughts don't just stay up here. The consciousness is throughout our entire system, or not, depending on if the chakra's closed down. So the beliefs feel like they're only mental, but the consciousness is throughout our entire system. Does that help?
Yes, greatly, yes. Thank you, greatly. Before we close on this part, do you have anything to say to your readers and viewers? And as a matter of fact, those that's already know a little bit about chakras, some type of the buzzword or something like that with the social media. But basically what I'm looking at is, what do you have to say, to all of us, even to get us started? Or did I throw all that at you at once?
No, it's all good. I'm just feeling out intuitively what would contribute to the listening audience the most.
Yes, exactly.
So give me just another second, please. That things aren't as they appear to be. It's one of the biggest bodily understandings I gained from living for 10 years in the Eastern Hemisphere. That there's a lot happening in the energy, in the unconsciousness and subconscious behind the physical scenes. And growing up in the West, particularly in America, we're taught to just focus on the physical. That if we just even start with looking at some simple practice of just even journaling, or while you're driving, looking at your mind's thinking, and start to get a sense of being able to detach and observe and develop that observer more, you're creating more freedom.
Wow. That was easy. Thank you. I think we could all remember that, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And you know what, Dr. Allison? I definitely want to have you back on the show again. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I know you're a busy woman. I mean, you are busy. It is hard to get a hold of you.
It is.
So
I only
is
have
there
one
any way
office
we could have you come back maybe sometime during the spring or the summertime?
Yeah, the spring would be great because it'll correspond with the second release, with the second book's release. So yeah, Stephen, that would be great. And I'd love to come back on and play with you. You've been a wonderful interviewer. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you both, Bob and Stephen. It was a wonderful way to. Yeah, you feel the lightness, the happiness, the joy. This is a vibrational upgrade.
Yes, definitely.
You received a vibrational upgrade. Yeah. You might sleep a little bit longer tonight too, because your system might be integrating it, so you might require a little bit more sleep.
You already got me energized.
Yeah, you do now. You might also, thank you for saying that. Another reaction at times when interacting with me this way is you might stay up later and find yourself doing a creative project and just let it be and write it out, and you'll have enough energy. You'll sleep enough. Don't worry about it. So it's either you have a spike in your energy and it lasts a long time, or you have a spike in your energy, and you got to go to sleep to integrate it. It depends on what your system's going through. So enjoy the buzz.
And I hope so, because I sure want to get rid of the coffee.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way to do it for sure. I don't drink coffee.
I see that. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
I'm going to go and treat my next client, and have a beautiful day too. Many, many blessings, and much love to you both. Thank you for the time today.
You too.
Thank you for reaching out to me.
Too.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
And you know what? I mean, that's definitely blessed having Dr. Alison on the show. As a matter of fact, when we come back, I think I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk to Bob about a little bit of politics in here that we've been watching, on the boob tube.
Yeah.
So I know he's anxious to say something, because he's got his viewpoint about what's going on in the world. So I tell you what. We're going to let you go for a moment, and we'll be right back after this.
Yeah, watch it. Got the words on the track. That on the boards. Church. Bishop Lamar. Wow. Yeah.
Welcome back. Yes. You know what? Actually, this is very interesting. Okay, we know that the lecture's going to be. We're going to throw in this politics, because I know you're itching, and you're dying to get this out. So we're going to talk about it. What is going on? I mean, with these debates, because this is not the actual debate, the challenge that goes in 2016 for 2017 election. What is going on right now? They're acting like I mean, what is happening?
Well, Donald Trump has the insiders upset because he's saying things they don't want to hear. Rand Paul's been doing that for a long time, and now he's getting a little traction. But that's what it is. The the insiders would like to have Jeb Bush,
Mm-hmm.
Who would be no better than his brother or father, and might even be worse, which is hard to imagine. But if you think of Bill Clinton, there was somebody who was worse. And
yeah, but I'm getting the feedback is what I'm getting because I watch it. I mean, while I'm at the publishing house,
right?
We're seeing on the screen that we're watching it like Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, what is going on with him? Because see, one of the things about Jeb Bush, they're saying that he would have did great if he was back in the day of his fathers and them, okay, and or what's his relation to? Oh my gosh, I'm saying it wrong here. Jeb Bush is the son of
George H.W.
Bush, which is the brother, right?
No, well, George H.W. Bush was the father of George W. Bush.
Yeah, I need to give it to the audience because you got Jeb Bush, you got Bush Jr.,
right,
and then you got Bush Sr.
Right.
Okay, what relationship is Jeb Bush to George Bush?
Well, George H.W. Bush is his father, and George W. Bush is his brother.
So it is his brother?
Yeah.
His older brother or his younger brother?
I don't know that part.
That's the part I can't figure out. But he came, it's like almost came out of nowhere.
Well, no, he's been around for, in fact...
as a senator?
Years ago, when George W. Bush was president, people asked him, if...
Junior, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
About his brother, and he said Jeb would be a great president. And some of the reporters said, well, then why isn't he president now? But that was a... Yeah,
but one of the things about it, and why I'm trying to clear this out is because we got three Bushes, and that's kind of weird, but 3 Bushes, and the Jeb Bush, they said that his time should have been back with George Bush. But because his debate against, man, I used to work on his planes too, his helicopter, back when I was in Atlantic City.
Oh, you mean Trump?
Trump, yeah, Donald Trump. And wow, I'm getting old thinking about it. But Donald Trump, he adds a flavor, but his flavor is more like, you sit down and sit at the dinner table and converse back and forth. But his battle with Jeb Bush,
right?
It was just, it was like, you got 2 kids in a schoolyard in a sandbox throwing sand at each other,
right?
And it seemed more like every time Jeb Bush picks up more sand to throw at him, he picks up a couple of buckets and throw it back at Jeb Bush, and it makes like Bush. It doesn't have Jeb doesn't have the strength what it takes as his brother did back then.
Well, I don't think his brother was facing anyone who was as difficult to argue with as Donald Trump.
Okay.
Number one. And a lot of people don't realize that George H.W. Bush's father was a senator. His name was Prescott Bush. He was also a member of Skull and Bones at Yale, as was George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. Now, Skull and Bones has had a lot of people get into politics, and it's a secret society.
Well, they had a movie. They had a movie in relation to that system or that fraternity.
Right, that fraternity.
Yeah, to show that it's a real. Skull and Bones is real. And it's just that they did elaboration on television about it, but the concept is still there.
Right.
So what you're saying is that, okay, so how about this? The Carson,
I think Ben
Hillary,
Carson's a really good guy. The best, now there are a bunch of people who would love to see Donald Trump run with Ted Nugent as his vice presidential candidate.
Okay.
Because, Nugent's the musician from Michigan, and he believes in Second Amendment rights. He's a very libertarian-leaning conservative, be a great guy. Rand Paul is another one who's very similar to Ted Nugent and A lot of the stuff he believes is very similar to what Donald Trump believes. But beyond that, you don't have many people. That's about it.